If stories like this stay with you, you may want to hear what comes next.
It was the silence that woke me, not a noise.
I sat up in bed, shivering in the cold air of the cabin.
The date was November 14, 2019.
I had rented a small A-frame structure near Index, Washington.
The cabin sat isolated at the end of a 200-meter gravel driveway.
Thick Douglas fir trees surrounded the property on all sides.
It was meant to be a solo writing retreat.
The time was exactly 2:43 a.m. when I checked my phone. Rain tapped gently against the large triangular window facing north. I needed water, so I left the warmth of the loft bedroom. Downstairs, the main living area was submerged in deep shadow. The ceiling stretched 6 meters high at the peak. A matte black cast iron stove sat cold in the corner. I walked to the kitchen island, which was made of gray quartz. A glass of water sat there, half empty. I took a sip and looked toward the back wall. The entire rear wall was essentially one large sliding glass door.
It was 3 meters wide and framed in dark aluminum.
Beyond the glass, the deck was pitch black.
An outdoor floodlight was mounted 3 meters up on the exterior wall.
It was currently off, leaving the forest edge in total darkness. I stared at my own reflection in the glass. My silhouette blocked the view of the trees behind me. Then I noticed the handle of the sliding door.
The small black latch was flipped down. That meant the door was unlocked. I specifically remembered locking it at 9 p.m. A cold feeling settled in my stomach.
Condensation misted the bottom 20 centimeters of the pane. I reached out to flip the latch up.
My hand hovered just inches from the cold metal handle.
Then the motion sensor light outside flickered on.
The sudden white light flooded the wet wooden deck.
The deck planks were cedar, gray and slick with rain.
Standing just 1 meter from the glass was a figure. It was tall, perhaps 2 meters in height.
It stood perfectly still, facing the glass. It wore a dark, heavy raincoat that dripped water.
I could not see a face, only the deep hood.
My breath caught in my throat.
I was frozen, my hand still reaching for the lock.
The figure raised a gloved hand slowly.
It pointed a finger directly at the latch.
The realization hit me like a physical blow.
They knew the door was unlocked.
They had been waiting for me to notice. Adrenaline finally broke my paralysis.
I stepped forward and quickly pushed the door bolt up.
The figure did not flinch.
The motion light timed out and clicked off. Darkness instantly swallowed the deck again. I scrambled backward, away from the glass wall.
I grabbed a heavy fire poker from the stove stand.
I retreated to the corner, putting the kitchen island between us.
I dialed 911 with trembling fingers.
The operator answered after 2 rings.
I whispered my location and situation.
My gaze remained fixed on the black rectangle of glass.
For 10 minutes, there was no movement outside. The rain intensified, drumming harder on the metal roof.
Blue lights finally flashed through the front windows.
Two deputies arrived and swept the perimeter.
They found wet boot prints on the deck.
The prints were size 12, heavy tread.
They stopped exactly 30 centimeters from the glass door. There were no other tracks leading away.
The mud simply ended at the edge of the deck.
I packed my bags while the deputies waited.
I drove back to Seattle that same night.
I never returned to the woods alone.
Sometimes, I still dream about that latch. I wonder what would have happened if I hesitated.
I locked the door, but I know I was late. They were already watching me before I woke up.